So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this midday session. We're just going to go over what we've done so far in the markets and look ahead to the rest of the day. Right, we started off the day by looking at the economic calendar, and we noticed that there were no reports of high importance due out today, apart from the European Central Bank President Mario Draghi speaking in Brussels at 3. But like I explained in detail this morning, it's not a report. He's just speaking, and it's just because of his position as the European Central Bank that he is classified as high. But it's nothing to worry about. So when we met in the morning, the market was trending sideways at the time. And at the time, the first resistance and the pivot point were both within the sideways trend at that time. So we only had, the only opportunity we had to trade this morning was to sell just below the market support. But since then, the market then broke the first resistance and the previous sideways trend. Let me get rid of this box. So yeah, the market broke the first resistance and the previous sideways trend at that point, and then started to trend sideways along the first resistance. So that was our new sideways trend at the time. I sent out an email to you all when that happened, and we now had a new sideways trend. Obviously, at this time was just the pivot, the first resistance that was within the sideways trend. So I then moved my pending sell order from below the market support to just below the pivot point. But of course, at that time, there were no clear buy opportunities. But interesting enough, the market then formed a market resistance. Market then formed a market resistance there. You can see where the market hit that point, then fell, went up again, hit it, fell, hit it there again, fell, hit it there again. So it actually tested it 3 times and it held. And if you check those high points there, they're all more or less the same. You can see the high there is 1.2334. Let's go to the other one. That's 1.2334. See 1.2334. The high there again 1.2334, and the high there again 1.2335. So that's actually a very good market resistance that formed there. So we could have potentially used that as a point of entry to buy. Hopefully, a couple of you saw that opportunity. There was no reason why you couldn't have used it. Obviously, being in Rwanda, I don't have the time to monitor the market as closely as I would wish to. So I've missed that potential buy opportunity, but that happens. So you could have potentially bought at the market support there. So you can see market support formed, so that could have been a potential buy opportunity, and you could have bought just above the market support. So also we can now see that the market has broken this sideways trend. So that one again is no longer relevant to us, so we can get rid of it. So the market has broken the sideways trend. It's formed a high, a low, a high again. That's actually broken the second resistance, and we're still waiting for him to form a new low. So it's formed a higher high. We're waiting for him to form a higher low. It's looking like it's beginning to go up. You can now see the moving average is well above the first resistance. So again, now we are going to move our pending sell order from below the pivot point to now below the first resistance. So a new pending sell order would be just below the first resistance, because again, you can see the dynamic of the market has changed again. Again, that's nothing to always remember as a day trader. When you assess the market in the morning, it doesn't mean that that's the way the market is going to remain for the whole day. So as a day trader, you do have to check the markets intermittently, because As you can see, today is a good example. The trend has changed 3 times since we met this morning. And of course, with that change, you also then have to change your entry points in the market. So again, you don't always think that you just look at the market in the morning, place your orders, and they will be at the appropriate place for the rest of the day. So again, today is a good example that the dynamics change as the day passes on, and your entry points might also change. So you can see we now have to move our pending sell order from below the pivot point to now below the first resistance, because the market has now broken the previous trend. It's broken R2. The moving average is well above R1, so we can now sell below R1. But again, of course, at this point, there are no buy opportunities because you can't use R2 to trade. And of course, the market hasn't formed the market resistance. So the only opportunity is a sell opportunity just below R1. So that's the plan going ahead. If you have any questions, do click the hand button or send your questions through the question box. There's a question here. It says, this morning your swing trade sell order was placed 2 pips below the moving average instead of the 1 pip below. How come? Yeah, you can use 1 pip below. I think so long as your pending order is below the moving average, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 pips below, it won't make a huge difference, especially since we're using a stop loss of 100 pips. So yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's just so long as your order is below the moving average. It could be 1 pip below the moving average, 2 pips, 3 pips. In fact, I know some people who actually use 4 pips below. They want to make 100% sure the market has broken the moving average before it takes their order. So some people I know actually use 4 pips. But again, the crucial thing is that so long as your order is below the moving average, somewhere below the moving average, you're fine. How many pips you decide to use will just be a question of personal preference. But whatever you choose to do, as always, is just be consistent with it. So where's the lowest point of the current trend? The lowest point is actually this point here, although obviously the market is still, trying to form another low point. Of course, this is the current low point here. Let me draw a line. So this is the current low point at this point here. So that's the current low point here. But again, you can see this candlestick is still forming. So we're not sure where the final low point will be around this point, because until the market goes up, you won't know which is the final low point. You can see this candlestick has actually broken that previous low point there. So you don't know. You have to wait a while to see where that low point would be. But prior to this, this is a previous low point for now in the market. Any other questions? Okay, so like I said, do remember to check your trades and check the markets around 3 when the ECB president is speaking in Brussels. But like I said, he's not going to say anything major. He's going to be very vague in his statement, and is obviously not announcing any policy decisions or interest rates or things like that. But it's a good idea to check your trades around that time. Hello, Moturayo. I can see your hand up, but for some reason I can't unmute you. Oh, finally got to unmute you. Hello, Moturayo. You're unmuted. You can ask your question. Oh, gosh. You're muted back. Okay, if you could type your question through the question box, and then I can see your question and answer your question. Because for some reason I'm unable to unmute you and speak to you. keep trying to unmute your mute button, but it's not. So if you can send the question